The Wolf of Wall Street, a fierce portrayal of business dialogue. How often do we actually get to plunge into the fiery pits of Wall Street? If you've seen the movie, you'll be familiar with the intense, adrenaline-pumped business conversations.
Absolutely, Chris. We will be navigating the depths of the Wolf of Wall Street, examining its distinct dialogue structure. A bit of a warning, though. This won't be a leisurely dip. We've got our diving gear ready. Ready to dive deep, Chris.
Can't wait, Olivia. Audiences, get ready to swim through the sea of business lingo. We'll be breaking down how the Wolf of Wall Street showcases the dynamic and assertive trading floor environment. But this doesn't signal the end of our journey.
Indeed, that too will do with a bit of role-playing from our side. We sure won't shy away from replacing the anxiety with fun. Just imagine, we'll recreate those heated business conversations directly from Wall Street to your headphones, but with a touch of Olivia and Chris for that unique spin.
And that's the beauty of this journey. We won't be just decoding, but we'll travel through the layers of conversations, down to the very lowest, where business idioms and colloquials reside. So, listeners, be sure to hold on tight, because it's going to be an interesting ride. Brevity is the soul of wit. Profound words by Shakespeare, aren't they? They still hold weight today and are particularly fitting when considering high-stakes trading dialogue.
Absolutely. And it's really demonstrated in the scenes with Jordan Belfort and his sales team of stock traders. The dialogues are quick, concise, attention-grabbing, almost as quick as their trades itself.
It's close to a verbal sparring, isn't it? It seems like decisiveness is not just a quality revered in trading, but expected in your language. Equivocation can cost millions, and a second's hesitation might just equate to a missed opportunity.
Very true. Remember that scene when Belfort sells penny stocks over the phone? His sentences are short, assertive, effectively leading the conversation where he wants it to go. He's a master manipulator both in trades and words. Is this something you've noticed and perhaps implemented in your world of tech startups, Chris?
Interesting point. Startups are not much different. When it comes to raising funds, for example, we don't have the luxury of time to beat around the bush. You have to get to the point quickly. Say everything you need to about your company in less than a minute, essentially your micro-pitch. Clear, crisp communication works everywhere.
I can see that. While the stakes might be different and the scenario less intense, the need for brevity and precision in communication transcends the trading floor and finds a place in other business areas as well.
From Wall Street to startups, brevity sure seems the common denominator.
Quickest finger first. That's really how it is, isn't it, Chris? The one who reacts first gets ahead in the game. When it comes to high-stakes trading, dialogues need to follow the same rule: brevity, quickness, and aptness. They almost have their unique rhythm and pacing, don't they?
True. One thing that strikes me about the dialogues in The Wolf of Wall Street is the frantic pace. The traders are like percussionists on a drum set, each beat, each word, precise yet rapid fire. There's no room for prolonged phrases or broad explanations. And it's not just the traders with their clients, but inside the firm as well. Within Belfort's Stratton Oakmont office, directives are issued, and information is passed on with such brevity and speed.
A verbal machine gun. You can't afford to lose your rhythm, you can't stop to think, and that kind of intensity also resonates with their work and the risk they undertake.
While we've seen Belfort's trading pitch, we have yet to delve into the rhythm and dialogue pace among the sales team. I must say, these conversations are strikingly fast-paced and full of trade lingo. Like when Belfort gives instructions to his employees, he fires those words without wasting a breath. The same goes when they're on the phone with clients.
In such high-stress environments, words are the tools of the trade. The trading floor dialogue gives a glimpse of the traders rapidly processing information, making judgment calls, and executing decisions through these quick-fire business exchanges. So, Chris, just for our audience's understanding, what gets a trader that speed and efficiency in their communication?
The rhythm of trading dialogue is disciplined through practice and understanding of the industry. Both traders and film characters have to be familiar with the financial terminologies and business jargon and their usage in real-time scenarios. In the case of high-stakes trading, the usage only increases under pressure. Once you master that skill, the conversational speed doesn't hinder your decision-making process or your trades.
Sticking with the rhythm of high-paced trading dialogue, Chris, I'm curious about some of those really quick back-and-forth dialogues. For instance, when Donnie Azoff wants to jump onto Jordan Belfort's money-making wagon, he demands Belfort show him a pay stub that earns him $70,000 a month. Without missing a beat, Belfort lobs a challenge back. He says, "If you show me a pay stub for $72,000, I quit my job right now and I work for you. Show me a pay stub for $72,000, and I quit my job right now and I work for you." Donnie doesn't believe him, and Belfort whips out a huge pay stub, shocking Donnie into silence. From a communication standpoint, it's quick, it's assertive. But is it a common communication style on the trading floor?
Definitely. The scenario you mentioned encapsulates the confidence, the audacity, and the risk appetite innate in a trade floor atmosphere. In trading, there's no time to second guess. 1 minute of hesitance can cost a fortune, therefore assertive and prompt communication is rewarded. So, a Wall Street trader makes quick decisions, backs them up with everything he's got, and he does it within a conversation that is equally rapid and brief.
And I think what makes it even more fascinating in the movie is that those rapid-fire dialogues are not limited to the actual trading, but extend to the everyday communication within their workspace. Conversations are unnervingly fast-paced, even in personal discussions. It's quite a drastic contrast from other lines of work, where you might have the luxury of time to phrase and convey your thoughts.
I think that throws light on the necessity of urgency, but it also tells you that the speed is not just a product of the job, it becomes a way of life for these traders. And that's what you see reflected in the Wolf of Wall Street dialogues. The speed and urgency is not just on trading floor calls, it's in their everyday life.
Chris, before we further explore the dialogue intricacies, let's first step back and decode some of the business jargon that's scattered through The Wolf of Wall Street. Initially, I was quite taken aback at the sheer amount of Wall Street lingo. Could you help our listeners understand the difference between a bull and a bear market?
Certainly, Olivia. In financial terms, a bull market refers to a market that's on the rise. It's derived from the way a bull attacks by driving its horns up in the air. On the other end of the spectrum, a bear market is one that's declining. The term bear is chosen because bears attack by swiping their paws downwards. So in essence, bull and bear are metaphors that characterize market trends.
Ah, I see why the animal metaphors now. It makes the concepts more relatable and understandable. In The Wolf of Wall Street, I recall Jordan Belfort explaining the concept of IPO, initial public offering, to his team. On the surface, it doesn't seem as cryptic as bull or bear. Could you unravel it for us, Chris?
Of course. An initial public offering, or IPO, refers to the process of a private company going public by issuing stocks for the first time. It's a significant step for companies as they can attract a broader range of investors and raise capital. The downside, however, is that they're subjected to more regulation and transparency. You remember, in the movie, Belfort's company, Stratton Oakmont, managed the IPO for Steve Madden's shoe company, right? That scene captures the IPO process well, albeit significantly dramatized, of course.
Right. How could anyone forget that scene? Diverging a bit, I remember hearing the term short squeeze being thrown around in some heated dialogues too. Care to shed some light, Chris?
Sure, Olivia. So, short squeeze is a rapid increase in the price of a stock primarily due to technical factors in the market, rather than underlying fundamentals. It occurs when a market participant is compelled to buy shares to cover their short positions, creating a surge in demand, and hence the price. Traders sometimes use this as a strategy to squeeze out other speculators by driving up the price of stocks that they've shorted.
I see why it's referred to as a squeeze then. Current finance events like that of GameStop, which we discussed in our previous episode, have made these terms part of popular discourse. Chris, it's fascinating how such jargon and terminology form an integral part of the dialogue in the movie, and how they encapsulate the pulse and pace of Wall Street. Makes you think how impactful high-stakes trading conversations can be, in shaping our understanding of these complex financial concepts.
Absolutely, Olivia. The authenticity of language and jargon in the dialogues contributes significantly to the movie's depiction of Wall Street, offering viewers a crash course in Wall Street lingo, whilst adding another layer of dramatic intensity.
Chris, there is another interesting term that crops up quite often in The Wolf of Wall Street. They refer to a venture as a ground floor opportunity in various dialogues. What exactly does that denote in the business world? It sounds like a bit of a real estate term to me.
Interesting question, Olivia. Indeed, it does sound real estate related. In its essence, a ground floor opportunity refers to an opportunity to invest or become part of a new venture right at the start or inception. It's like being able to board a bus at the starting point. You have a higher chance to pick your desired seat and enjoy the full ride. In business terms, you can interpret it as an investment opportunity with potentially high returns because you're in the project from the get-go. Thus, in Wall Street lingo, a ground floor opportunity implicitly suggests high risk but high reward.
High risk, high reward. Sounds like the very mantra that Wall Street thrives on, right? I guess that's why characters like Jordan Belfort were so alluring to people. They embodied the idea of getting in early, taking substantial risks, and potentially reaping enormous rewards. However, it also led to the downfall of many, including Belfort himself.
Precisely, Olivia. It's fascinating to observe, learn, and discuss these idioms from Wall Street. They do seem to encapsulate the big gamble nature of the trading world quite perfectly with just a few words, and our listeners might not realize it, but these terms aren't just confined to Wall Street or financial dramas. They're used quite commonly in real-life business scenarios as well. Olivia, when we talk about The Wolf of Wall Street, the stark contrast between the Wall Street tycoons and their opulent lifestyle in the 80s to the present day is astounding, isn't it?
Oh, definitely, Chris. The excess is simply mind-boggling. From the endless parties, lavish yachts, high-spec sports cars, to the luxury homes with grandeur design, all paint a rich, vivid picture of the 80s Wall Street culture. The movie is a time capsule preserving that era's essence, but I must say, the wild extravagance sometimes makes it easy to forget that it wasn't that way for everyone, right?
You're absolutely correct there. Despite the over-the-top lifestyle depicted in the movie, Wall Street was not all glamour and glitz for everybody, and Scorsese doesn't shy away from showing this darker underbelly either. There were countless people who couldn't keep up with the high-pressure environment and fell victim to the cutthroat competition.
This is also reflected in how Belfort's Stratton Oakmont firm operates. You see junior traders vying for attention, willing to go to any lengths to succeed. Remember that scene where a female employee agrees to shave her head for $10,000? That was insane.
Yes, the movie's filled with such moments. And what makes The Wolf of Wall Street even more interesting are underlying 80s cultural references. From Gordon Gekko's famous "greed is good" mantra that defined the era, to the power suits, large mobile phones, a who's who of luxury brands. I think the film did a commendable job capturing the zeitgeist.
Well, Chris, while some of the ostentatious luxury may seem dated to our modern sensibilities, it certainly serves a purpose in immersing us into that world, priming us for the conversations Jordan Belfort and his cohorts were having in their outrageous, larger-than-life settings. So, Chris, how do you think the American trading culture portrayed in the film influences the dialogue and communication styles of the characters?
There's definitely a remarkable influence. The self-assured, fast-paced dialogue infused with business jargon is a direct reflection of Wall Street in the movie's time period. It's all about conveying confidence and control.
Right. The characters speak with such authority. It's not just the words they say, but how they say them. The tone, the pace, even the absence of certain words all play into this image of power and control.
Exactly. And fast, efficient dialogue is a must in such high-stakes environment. Hesitation or uncertainty could cost millions. That's why Jordan Belfort's dialogue is so terse, rapid. He gets his point across immediately. His language is bold, assertive, just like his trading style.
And we know from real-world examples that this isn't just a cinematic exaggeration. Trader jargon, the clipped sentences, the use of auxiliary languages or shortcuts, that's part of the fast-paced reality of trading, isn't it?
Absolutely. Long or short, buy or sell, terms like these succinctly capture multiple strands of information. Translating complex financial transactions into a few words or phrases helps traders communicate more efficiently.
I see. Despite not being as knowledgeable about high-stakes trading, I could still appreciate how Wall Street was reflected through the dialogue and communication styles. It lends an understanding of underlying business concepts and strategies even to the uninitiated.
It absolutely does. And the real-world applicability is undeniable. Language is not just for understanding, it's used to influence, to persuade. And in sales or negotiation-heavy fields, that's invaluable.
Sell me this pen. That's a challenge Belfort throws at his protégés throughout the movie. Why do you think he puts forth this seemingly simple task, Chris?
Oh, it feels simple, doesn't it? But when you look closer, it's deceptive. Selling something as mundane as a pen tests one's ability to think on their feet and sway the audience. It's a classic negotiation challenge.
So it's sort of a litmus test, an effective way to gauge someone's selling ability?
Right. And the movie brilliantly showcases the varied responses. Belfort's own way of dealing with the challenge elucidates his sales style. He doesn't just sell the pen, he dives into the psychology of his prospective buyer, creating an environment where the pen becomes a necessity.
Oh, so it's not about the pen itself, but the demand he creates. Fascinating. So how would one tackle this challenge, selling something as common as a pen?
It's all about highlighting the unique attributes, creating an emotional resonance. Say this pen is a luxury item, something exclusive or personalized, or this pen was used by famous personalities, adding a touch of history. This creates a perceived value which can then be harnessed.
Like Belfort did in the movie. As you sit across the table, he creates a reality where his pen possesses unique characteristics, stamping its worth above the rest.
Exactly. It's all about mastering your narrative, showcasing a product's value, even if it's as simple as a pen. That's the art of selling. But remember, tactics like these require responsibility. Don't let it lure you to the dark side of manipulation.
Moving to staff meetings in The Wolf of Wall Street, Chris, did you notice their style in commanding the room?
Absolutely, Olivia. The leaders, especially Belfort, use energy and passion to manipulate the room. They dictate the pace and tone of the meetings using aggressive, blunt language, repetition, and overemphasized delivery to ensure no one disconnects even for a second.
And you see, this kind of environment is not limited to Wolf of Wall Street, right? You've seen similar situations in real business world?
Right, especially in high-pressure sales environments. It's a way to keep everyone engaged and motivated despite the stress. A charismatic leader can really set the tone for a meeting, even one as chaotic as those depicted in the movie. But in practice, it requires skills to balance between potent leadership and not crossing ethical boundaries.
And don't forget their strategic seating arrangements. There's some power scheme going on there, isn't it?
Yes, leaders have prime seating, often front and center. It's both symbolic and tactical. It consolidates their leadership status and gives them more visibility.
And it's a mirror to the power dynamics, isn't it?
Indeed. It reflects and reinforces hierarchical structures in such organizations. It's not just physical dominion, but a measure of control, and influences the ebb and flow of the meeting's energy.
But such an arrangement might also be seen as intimidating and maintain status quo, right?
Yes, that's true. It hinders fluid communication and suppresses subordinates' voices. It can make employees feel unvalued and hamper innovative ideas.
Okay, let's talk assertiveness, Chris. The character of Jordan Belfort in The Wolf of Wall Street isn't shy. How does he use assertiveness in his negotiations?
Belfort uses assertiveness like a professional sword swinger. He uses tactics such as taking a hard stance on his demands and refusing to accept anything less. He confidently communicates, even under pressure, and stays clear and concise, making sure his points are understood and respected.
Assertive indeed. As in the scene when he's closing the IPO for Steve Madden's shoes, he's showing a full-on pressure tactic and maintaining command over the process.
Exactly. But let's be clear here. Assertiveness in negotiation doesn't mean being aggressive or dominating. It's about respecting your objectives and the other side's as well. It's about having a clear goal, expressing it confidently, and finding a mutual agreement.
Right, Chris. And you can see the distinction in Belfort's character when compared to someone like Mark Hanna, Belfort's mentor at the beginning of the film, isn't it?
Yes, Hannah's style is more subtle. He's assertive, but not overly aggressive. Anyone watching the film needs to remember, Hollywood is all about drama. The real world requires a delicate balance.
Well, that's a relief. The Wolf of Wall Street version of negotiation could get tiring very quickly. Chris, we've seen how Belfort uses assertiveness in his negotiations. But do you think there's a different technique that could have served him better?
Well, Olivia, that depends on the situation and the goal. Belfort's aggressive assertiveness might have served him well in certain situations, but a more passive or empathetic negotiating style might have garnered him better long-term relationships, and in some cases, better deals.
It's interesting you mention empathy. There is a moment when Belfort tries to sell penny stocks to a man over the phone. His empathetic approach truly seems to pull the man in, contrary to his usual aggression.
True, in that scene, Belfort finds a common ground with then manipulates the man's emotions using an empathetic approach. It's a manipulative tactic, but it shows how altering negotiation styles can work in a different scenario. Remember that passive doesn't always mean weak.
Very important to keep in mind. Also, this seems like a fitting space to remind our learners, empathy and manipulation aren't interchangeable. Empathy is about understanding and sharing the feelings of others, whereas manipulation is about controlling others, often unfairly, for your own advantage.
Yes, from a negotiation perspective, empathy lets you understand the other party better, which can enable you to propose mutually beneficial solutions. Aggressive negotiation has its place, but if overused or misused, it can damage relationships or result in unfavorable terms.
Looks like every negotiation technique has its place and time. Recognizing the correct one at the right moment is the skill. Thanks a lot, Chris. So, Chris, we've been dissecting the phrases, the tone, the pacing, and even the underlying empathy, or lack of it, in these dialogues, right? But don't you think the environment, particularly the high-stakes trading floor, plays its part in shaping these conversations?
Absolutely, Olivia. The atmosphere of the trading environment significantly impacts the dialogue pace. When you're trading stocks, time is money, quite literally. In the fast-paced world of Wall Street, there's no room for hesitation, and this intensity is apparent in the dialogues. Every sentence, every word serves a purpose, facilitating the quick exchange of vital information with little room for small talk.
There is this constant undercurrent of urgency, isn't there? Like a pressure cooker that could burst any minute. It's reflected in the speed, rhythm, and even the tone of the dialogues. A simple buy, sell, or hold could mean making or losing millions in seconds.
Oh, it's fascinating how 3 simple words have such power in this world. But it goes further. Even the nature of the conversation changes according to the pressure and stakes of the situation. High-stakes conversations lead to hurried, clipped speech, while a relatively calm period might see more elaborate and relaxed dialogues.
So true. Like during Belfort's training days, the dialogues have a more measured pace, peppered with mentorship and learning. Fast forward to the peak of his career, the dialogues become quicker, leaner, more terse, mirroring his astronomical ambitions.
An excellent observation. The dialogue's pace and rhythm become a reflection of the character's inner state and the environment they're in. With the shift in Belfort's fortunes, the changes in intensity also take center stage in the communication styles.
So while we are learning these dialogues, it's equally important to be aware of the context. A dialogue swiped straight out of the trading floor may not work in a marketing meeting, right?
Right on, context is indeed key. A dialogue that works well in the urgency-fueled world of high-stakes trading may be viewed as brusque or counterproductive in a creative brainstorming session. Dialogue isn't one-size-fits-all, and stretching it to fit all business contexts might just backfire. Olivia, let's hop onto a tour of the screenplay. We have delved into the use of dialogue within living scenes. However, there's another dimension worth exploring. The character's evolution itself, the essence of storytelling in film and drama, is often underpinned by their dialogue. One such character is Jordan Belfort from The Wolf of Wall Street.
That's right, Chris. Belfort, as a character, evolves drastically throughout the plot. His dialogues are the mirrors of these developments, aren't they? Early on, he's unsure, even timid. His words are measured, seeking approval. Remember when he asks his boss, "Why do we want the stock to go higher?" That's the naive Belfort probing the Wall Street ethos.
Absolutely, a total greenhorn. But as he sinks his teeth deeper into the relentless landscape of Wall Street, we see his character transform dramatically. His dialogues grow from uncertainties and pledges to confident commands and proclamations. Recall the time he incites his team with, "I want you to deal with your problems by becoming rich." That's the powerful, charismatic Jordan Belfort taking charge.
Powerful and charismatic, but also erratic. As his ambition swells and his grip on reality weakens, his dialogues reflect this change. They are as chaotic as his life is spiraling to be. Wild speeches, frenzied rants, such as the unrestrained "I ain't leaving," they paint a chilling picture of a man unmoored from ethics and reason.
Indeed, a far cry from the wide-eyed trainee we first meet in the movie. It's an enlightening journey, observing how Belfort's language shifts from novice to master, from caution to abandon. It underscores the overarching theme of the movie. Unchecked ambition and extreme greed can lead us down a dangerous path. The dialogue is more than just words. It's the very compass guiding us through the story.
And this design isn't limited to Belfort alone. Other characters such as Donnie, Belfort's right-hand man, also undergo similar transitions, right? His dialogues move from idolizing Belfort to slowly revealing his own ruthless veneer. The movie's tactical use of dialogue to carve out powerful character arcs is truly impressive.
That's a spot-on observation, Olivia. Every spoken word in the movie, however casual, contributes to painting vibrant, evolving portraits of these complex characters. It's an incredible lesson for our listeners on how dialogue is an efficient tool for characterization in business English context. It's not just about what is being said. The how, when, and why are equally impactful.
Sell me this pen. A short, simple directive. Yet, it's a challenge that defines the Wolf of Wall Street's communication style. Don't you think so, Chris?
Oh yes, an excellent example of brevity in business dialogue. Those 4 words are a gauntlet thrown, a task set, and all in the most minimalist fashion. But it isn't only about being brief, is it? It's also about being precise and impactful, striking at the heart of the matter. The movie teems with such instances, but the scene that comes to mind is when Belfort instructs his team, "Pick up the phone and start dialing."
Definitely. The dialogue tells us so much about Belfort, his clear objective, his aggressive strategy, and his confidence. It's not merely a tagline, but a command that impacts his subordinates' actions. The effective use of silence and pauses also adds a sense of urgency and importance to what's being said. It's like, the fewer the words, the higher the stakes.
Exactly. But there's more to it. You see, the brevity in Belfort's words doesn't just dictate action, it fosters a sense of authority. This authority is at the core of Belfort's ability to manipulate others into buying whatever he's selling, even when he's offering his team a pep talk before a big day on the trading floor. Remember, they say money can't buy happiness? Look at the smile on my face, ear to ear.
Right, and although his speeches often descend into chaotic rants, they're still rooted in this assertiveness that stems from the strategic use of silence or pause in between. They aren't just mere breaks, but in fact act as a psychological tool that strengthens the impact of his words. The ethos of Wall Street, the high-stakes atmosphere, almost demands this blending of brevity and impact, doesn't it?
Undoubtedly. It's an essential lesson for anyone eager to decode business communication. Being succinct and assertive can be much more effective than being verbose. As we've seen from The Wolf of Wall Street, brevity, peppered with the right amount of silence and accompanied with appropriate delivery, can be the key to engaging, decisive communication. Any thoughts, Olivia?
I think you've summarized it perfectly, Chris. Whether you're in the world of Wall Street or any business setting, Effectively wielding the power of brevity can make all the difference, as the characters from The Wolf of Wall Street clearly show us. It's not always about how much we say, but what and how we say it.